Raz and Mindy Thomas host the #1 kids podcast, Wow in the World. Now they've got a brand new book to teach kids all about space, Wow in the World, Wow in Space. Thank you both so much for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
I know when I was a kid, space was that first thing that fascinated me. And it was gravity, it was floating. I mean, and robots. I mean, these were the things that it was just so incredible. Talk a little bit about what we're going to see in this book.
Yeah, so this book is a fun, fact-filled, illustrated guide to the universe. So we go into everything from the formation of the universe to taking you through a tour of our solar system, where the planets introduce themselves to you as they may see themselves. We have lots of comic panels, and there's quizzes in here. We take you through what it would be like to spend time on the International Space Station through a diary of an astronaut up there that we've created. There's everything from space tools, things left on the moon. We cover it all. And it's for kids who are interested in space, but also for kids who might think that they're not interested in science or space or reading. There's lots of points of entry for all kinds of learners and all kinds of readers.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I remember those points growing up where maybe you weren't as interested because you didn't find the right vehicle or the right thing that got you hooked on reading or science or the theater, or whatever it might be. And sometimes you just find that right thing that speaks to you, especially using so much humor.
Yeah, I mean, this book, we talk about real science, real hard science, black holes and supernovas, about the elements and the chemicals and the gases that make up our universe. But we also talk about things like what it's like to pass gas in space, because we learned about this while researching this book. And I can tell you, it is not very pleasant for the people around you if you're on the International Space Station, because there isn't a lot of airflow and it just kind of sits there. So there's lots to learn about space from many different perspectives, including by using humor, because we know from our podcast, Wow in the World, and our previous books about the human body and about animals, that kids really learn best when they're delighted, inspired, and when they laugh when they're learning. That's when memories and ideas really stick and resonate with kids. And that's what we're trying to do with this book. Because as you say, space is exciting, and we want to deepen that love for space with this book.
I mean, especially with the other books, as far as the human body and pets, you can either, look at yourself in the mirror, you can go to a zoo, you might, go somewhere to see different animals, but space, it's a whole nother realm. I mean, unless you're reading a book or seeing a film about it, you really have no concept as to what's up there. So this is a great way to make something exciting that you can't tangibly, see for yourself.
Yeah. For example, one of the things that we cannot see for ourselves, even though we can see it, is the moon and all of the junk that has been left on the moon by astronauts. I picture it looking like somebody's messy bedroom. There's family photos up there. Alan Shepard left some golf balls. The footprints, thinking about when you freshly vacuum a carpet and someone leaves footprints, the original footprints are still up there. There's no wind, there's no rain, there's nothing to mess them up. There are bags of astronaut poop on the moon, Rudy. This is all up there.
Yeah.
Can't see it, but we can see the moon. So maybe if you squint.
Maybe.
Yep.
You talked a little bit about the International Space Station, and there was just news this week about it taking almost $1 billion for it to come on down. And this is a great way for kids to, to read this book, learn about the space station if they weren't familiar with it before, because it's going to be in the news, for the better part of this next decade.
No question about it. I mean, Rudy, space is so inspiring and it's limitless. I mean, there is so much we have yet to discover, so much we have discovered through projects like the ISS that you mentioned, but also from the James Webb Telescope, that our newest space telescope. For example, there are things about exoplanets we didn't even know 25 years ago. Now we know that in our own galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, there are 400 or 500 billion planets. Every star we look at is its own solar system. We think of our solar system as the center of everything. You've got the sun and the moon. It's the sun and Earth and Mercury and Neptune and Venus. That's just one of 400 or 500 billion solar systems in our galaxy. There are 2 trillion galaxies out there. I mean, it's mind-blowing when you think about it. And, as you mentioned, as a kid, you got so excited about it. And I know lots of kids get excited about it. But we wanted to use this book as a chance to reach even more kids with jokes and humor and fun and games, but also real hard science.
The other thing too that I love, especially with Tinker class, it said that kids can understand 2 or 3 levels above their reading level when they're listening. And
Yes.
who knows how that's going to impact them, and not just in science, but all their other studies, as well too. So not only is listening to the podcast, reading the book, it's not just, teaching them about one particular subject, but it's also helping them, overall.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the use of humor in helping kids to learn, it helps make things stickier. They learn deeper, they retain more. And that is a signature in everything that we do.
A message for the parents out there. We're coming up on holiday breaks, as far as gifts they should get for the holidays, but also maybe if they haven't listened to the podcast or picked up one of their books, I mean, this is a great time for kids and parents to do that together.
Oh yeah,
No,
we are
yeah.
great in the car. I gotta say, if you're going on a road trip to your grandparents' house, we are really great in the car. We love to imagine kids listening, the families listening to the podcast together, wow in the world, but also kids reading a book like this in the back seat and then passing that whatever they learned forward to the front seat. Everything we do also puts parents and kids sort of on the same level. Our podcast is all about new scientific discoveries, so everyone's going to be learning something.
And I also love the fact, when sometimes there's a solar eclipse or the planets are lining up in a certain way or the moon's going to be a certain color, I'll see all the neighbors coming outside because we want to capture that, because that's something they're like, you're not going to be able to see this for another decade or, the next century. So people, like, no matter what age you are still fascinated by space and everything that's up there.
Oh yeah.
There's no question about it. I mean, Rudy, not to sound like a hippie from the 60s, but we are all stardust. We are all the product of a massive explosion that happened 14 billion years ago. And every part of us, we are carbon, right? The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, that all came from that explosion. And it's quite miraculous when you think about it. I mean, it makes us feel both very, very small in this vast universe, but also very connected, because we all come from the same place. And that's the story of space.
That is awesome. We'll definitely go pick up this book, Wow in the World, Wow in Space. Guy, Mindy, thank you so much for your time today. Make sure to check out the podcast, as well too. There's some merch there for, for the holiday gifts. If you're still looking for something for the kids and for the family. And happy holidays to both of you.
To you too,
Thanks,
Rudy.
Rudy.
Thank you.